Hello growers, I'm Dr. MJ Coco from CocoForCannabis.com. We publish articles, tutorials, and guides on the science and practice of growing cannabis. Today I have something special. ChilLED sent me their new Growcraft ULTRA Prototype 1 X3 330. They designed this light to demonstrate what is possible with photon efficacy and light distribution. I believe that it's the most efficient LED grow light that's been produced. The unit I have is a prototype, but ChilLED is going to take this concept design and put it into production. It'll soon be available as the Growcraft ULTRA X3 330. It will come at a steep price, but it's an exciting sign for the future of horticultural lighting. In this review, I'll do an unboxing, show the setup, and run it through 4 different par tests in 2 different coverage areas. It's a privilege to get to test and review this light. I look forward to showing what it can do. Grow light par testing is part of the Coco for Cannabis Grow Light Guide. Our goal is to educate growers about horticultural lighting. We conduct scientific grow light testing and publish reliable, science-based knowledge, data, and reviews for home growers. You can support our work by following our links and using our discount codes when you shop for grow lights. After the video, come visit the Coco for Cannabis Grow Light Guide. You can read our grow light articles, try the grow light calculator, and review all of the grow light par test reports. Today I'm testing the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA Prototype 1 X3 330. They sent me one of the very first units that was produced. It arrived in 2 separate boxes. In this box, they packed up the fixture itself. I'm excited to open this up and check it out. Austin from ChilLED reached out to ask me to test the light. He couldn't tell me much about it, just that it was special. So at this point, I still really don't know what to expect. Let's see what we got. It's a sleek-looking 3-bar fixture. Wide LED bars, but thin profile. Let me flip it over to see the diodes. It feels solid and wow, the diodes are impressive. Let me get this box out of the way, and I'll slide the Growcraft ULTRA X3 prototype out of the bag. This is a really solid feeling fixture. The build quality feels like aircraft grade construction. I get my hands on a lot of lights, but this one is really special. Sturdy, solid, and sleek. ChilLED is not cutting any corners with the Growcraft ULTRA series. You can see how thin the profile is. It's a simple yet sophisticated design. These thin, wide bars house a ton of diodes and help dissipate the heat. The details about the diodes are being kept as a trade secret, but that doesn't stop us from counting them. Each panel has 144 full-spectrum diodes and 8 deep red diodes. There are 9 panels per bar and 3 bars, which means that there are a total of 4,104 diodes. It's about 4 times more than I would expect on a fixture that pulls 330 watts. I am legitimately excited to hang this up, turn it on, and run it through my tests. They packed all the accessories in this second box. The packaging may be different for the retail version. Let's see here. We got a power cord. Here are some ratchet pulleys, and it looks like the little controller in there too. And then another power cord. And finally, buried down in here, is a box with the driver. Oh, and a couple of ChilLED stickers. Let's take a look at the driver here. It's a large Meanwell HLG 320H48B. This is an ultra high efficiency driver to power all those diodes. I'll connect the cables. The cables all just line up and push together. These are the nice self-twisting quick connectors. That was the line that runs to the fixture. This little cable is for the controller. I just got the little dimming knob controller, but there are upgrades. I'll connect that, and then we just connect the power cord to the other side. Okay, I'm going to flip the fixture over and hang it up. They provide the 4 ratchet pulleys. Just clip one to each of these little brackets, and I'll start tugging on the loose ends to hang up the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3. Let me connect the power cord from the driver. I'm not sure what the hanging height is, but probably a little higher. Okay, seems like a fair place to start. I'll flip the switch, and we have light. Let's take a look at those diodes. You can see all the full spectrum diodes punctuated by the red glow from the deep red diodes. It's a beautiful fixture. Using a ton of high efficiency diodes is a great way to improve efficiency. It allows them to run each diode at a lower wattage. Diodes are more efficient at lower wattages, and they will last a lot longer. Manufacturers often cut costs by reducing the number of diodes. ChilLED went the other direction with this fixture. The diodes need to warm up and stabilize. Normally I take this opportunity to visit the manufacturer's product page, but there is no product page yet for the Growcraft ULTRA series fixtures. I really don't have a lot of specific information about this light. I'm not even sure what they intend for the coverage area, but I do have one thing. Happily, ChilLED commissioned an integrating sphere test with a larger version of this fixture. It's impressive. Let's check it out. This is the test report from Light Laboratory Incorporated. They tested the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA Prototype 1 X6 600-watt version, which is basically 2 of the units that I have. Down here you can see the important photon flux data from the sphere test. Light Laboratory Inc. measured a total ppf of 1,986.45 micromoles, and the power draw was 622.4 watts. That gives the Growcraft ULTRA Prototype 1 a total photon efficiency of 3.19 micromoles per watt. This is truly extraordinary. It is the first credible test report that I've seen with an efficacy over 3 micromoles per watt. Let's take this data to our grow light calculator to estimate what the X3 330-watt version of this light will do. Here we are at the Coco for Cannabis grow light calculator. This is our tool to help growers analyze grow lights. You can take manufacturer data or independent lab testing data and use it to estimate what a fixture will actually produce in your grow space. I'll enter the data about the Growcraft ULTRA Prototype 1 and we can get a sense for what this fixture can do. The power draw on the X3 model is 330 watts. At this time they have not yet set a retail price. It's gonna be expensive, but we do have a discount code for ChilLED. If you want to order this or any other ChilLED fixture, shop direct at ChilLEDGrowlights.com and use discount code ChilledCoco. We don't have a price, but we do have the ppf data. The calculator gives options for different types of photon flux data. Most manufacturers provide calculated ppf data. If the data is from an integrating sphere test, we select total ppf. And when we measure ppf in a PAR test, it is usable ppf. The data we have is from an integrating sphere test. Light Laboratory Incorporated measured a total photon efficiency of 3.19 micromoles per watt. Wow! The calculator predicts that the Growcraft ULTRA X3 will deliver a usable ppf of 911 micromoles at a photon efficiency of 2.76 micromoles per watt. If that holds up in the PAR test, it will be the most efficient fixture I have tested by far. But I don't know, this really seems too good to be true. The calculator is suggesting that this 330-watt fixture can cover 14 square feet, and the benchmark harvest is more than 2 grams per watt. It's 684 grams, over 24 ounces. Wow. Let's go see if the prototype measures up to all of this in the PAR test. First, I'm going to put the Apogee SQ500 quantum sensor under the Growcraft ULTRA X3 prototype, and I can tell right away that I'm going to need to raise it higher than this. The walls aren't even in place yet, and the ppfd was over 1500 micromoles per square meter. Based on the estimates from the calculator, I'm going to run the first test in a 4x4 foot area. The calculator rated it for 14 square feet, and this will be 16 square feet, but it's the area that we specify in our grow light testing protocol for fixtures in this range. Once the walls are in place, I will center the fixture and fine-tune the height. I always ensure that the fixture is centered, level, and square. And our official tests always have a maximum ppfd of 1000 micromoles per square meter. This is a limit that is set by cannabis photosynthesis and ambient levels of carbon dioxide. Once I get it all set, I'll move the sensor around to ensure that I'm getting the highest ppfd reading. It looks like the maximum ppfd is just off center here. The hanging height is 48.5 centimeters, about 19 inches, and the maximum ppfd is right at 1000 micromoles per square meter. Alright, let's run a PAR test. In a PAR test, I measure the density of photons across the simulated canopy. The Light Laboratory Inc. test was in an integrating sphere. They were measuring the total ppf, which is every single photon that leaves the fixture. In a PAR test, we only measure the photons that reach the canopy, the usable ppf. Usable ppf is always lower than total ppf because some light does not make it to the canopy. That's why the calculator took the 3.19 micromoles per watt from the sphere test and suggested we would get 2.76 micromoles per watt in the PAR test. As growers, what really matters to us is the amount of light that reaches the canopy and how that light is distributed. That's why good PAR test data is more useful than sphere test data. We developed our specific PAR test protocol to produce the most relevant data for growers. And I'm just gathering the final data points here. Let's check out the PAR map that this test produced. This is a really good 4x4 PAR map. I'm just stunned that a 300-something watt fixture can light up a 4x4 space like this. The only regions that are below 500 micromoles per square meter are tucked into the corners. The vast majority of the area is bathed in perfect density light. This is really better than I thought it could be. Let's run the numbers. The hanging height is 48.5 centimeters, about 19 inches, and the maximum ppfd was 1,000 micromoles per square meter. Across this PAR map, the average ppfd is 672.0 micromoles per square meter. The test area is 1.44 square meters, which means that this ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3 delivered 967.6 micromoles of usable ppf. Wow, that's more than we predicted. During this test, the power draw was 347 watts, so the usable photon efficiency is a jaw-dropping 2.79 micromoles per watt. I really don't know what to say. This is easily the most efficient fixture that I'm aware of. A 4x4 tent with less than 350 watts? Wow. If I raise the fixture, it should help distribution. But the average ppfd is not very high here, so it might not help much in this space. But I'm going to raise the Growcraft ULTRA X3 and then run another test. We'll see how the hanging height affects performance and whether there is enough light to get the corners up to 500. Raising the fixture will cause the ppfd along the edges to come up, at least to a point. As I raise it higher and higher, the returns are less and less. I'm getting very close, and I think this is high enough. I raised it up to 60 centimeters, about 23.5 inches above the sensor. This top left corner was 436 micromoles per square meter in the official test. I have it all the way up to 492 micromoles per square meter now. Let me record the maximum ppfd here near the middle. At this hanging height, the maximum ppfd is 838 micromoles per square meter. Alright, let's run another PAR test. Raising the fixture has really evened out the spread of light densities. The values along the edge are all higher now. They have a better angle to receive light from the fixture. And the values in the middle are all lower now, simply because the fixture is farther away. We lose more in the middle than we gain along the edges. Sometimes that trade-off is worth it. Sometimes it isn't. It depends on the fixture and the space. There is usually a range of effective hanging heights for any fixture. This test should help us to define that range for the Growcraft ULTRA X3 in a 4x4 space. We'll get to analyze the numbers and compare the two maps. I think it will be enlightening. As I gather the final ppfd readings down here, let's check out the PAR map that this test produced. Another excellent PAR map. There are only 3 squares below 500. We're drawing just 345 watts. And this 4x4 grow space is fully lit. I'm just blown away by the efficiency of the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3. There is a really even spread of light here. Let's compare this to the official test, where the fixture was about 4.5 inches lower. You can see there's more light in the middle at the lower height, but there are a total of 10 squares below 500. Let's focus on these squares on the top and bottom. When I raise the Growcraft ULTRA X3, the ppfd values in all these squares went up. The higher hanging height has an excellent spread of light, but quite a bit of light was lost. If we focus on the rest of the map, here at the higher hanging height, these values are fine, but we can see that at the lower hanging height, the ppfd values are much higher. So, is the trade-off worth raising the Growcraft ULTRA X3? Let's run the numbers to really compare. The hanging height on this test was 60 centimeters, or 23.5 inches. The maximum ppfd was 838 micromoles per square meter, and the average ppfd across the PAR map is 639.9 micromoles per square meter. The test area is still 1.44 square meters, so in this test, the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3 delivered a usable ppf of 921.5 micromoles. The power draw was slightly lower, at 345 watts, so the usable photon efficiency is 2.67 micromoles per watt. 2.67 is still such a remarkable number, but as you can see, we lost quite a bit of light. Raising the fixture cost us about 46 micromoles, almost 5% of the usable light. These maps mark the effective operating range for the Growcraft ULTRA X3 in a 4x4 tent. The distribution of light is excellent, even at the lower hanging height. I think the improved distribution at the higher hanging height does not fully compensate for the lower usable ppf. Therefore, the ideal hanging height is close to the minimum hanging height of 48.5 centimeters, 19 inches. But I'm still curious if 4x4 is the best coverage area for this fixture. I'm having fun playing with it, so I'm going to run another test in a 5x3 space. The dimensions of the X3 330 watt version are 50 by 108 centimeters, about 19.5 by 42.5 inches. It would seem to be better suited for rectangular coverage. However, LED bar arrays tend to distribute their light better from the broad sides than from their ends. I'm not sure if the Growcraft ULTRA X3 will fully light the 5-foot long space. Once again, I'll set the hanging height so that the maximum ppfd is 1000 micromoles per square meter. I have to lower it since I had it up at 60 centimeters. I also have to recenter the fixture. If I'm off by even a fraction of a centimeter, the ppfd data will be lopsided. I want to make sure that any unevenness in the par maps is from the fixture itself, not the way I hang it up. Okay, I got everything set. The hanging height is 50.5 centimeters, about 20 inches, and the maximum ppfd is 1000 micromoles per square meter. Time for another par test. Right off the bat, I can tell this is going to be a good par test. The first corner was 458 micromoles per square meter. That's better than I thought it would be in a 5-foot long space. The total area here is a little smaller than the other tests. This is 15 square feet. The first two tests were 16 square feet. If you've seen my Grow Light Physics video, you'll know some of the things we should expect. It's time to see if those physics apply to this prototype of the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3. I'll grab these last ppfd readings, and let's look at the par map that this test produced. Again, a very impressive par map. You can see there are only 5 squares below 500. I think this might actually be a better fit than the 4x4. The ppfd values on the left end are a little low, but they're so close it's nitpicking. Looking at this map, I say the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3 can fully light a 5x3 space. Let's run the numbers. The hanging height was 50.5 centimeters, about 20 inches. Be aware, if you plan to run this light in a smaller space, you would have to hang it even higher, because the maximum ppfd here is 1000 micromoles per square meter. In this part map, the average ppfd is 701.6 micromoles per square meter. That is indeed higher than in the 4x4 test, but the test area is smaller. It's 150 by 90 centimeters, or 1.35 square meters. So the usable ppf is 947.1 micromoles. That's a little lower than in the 4x4 test, because there's a little less space. The power draw during this test was 345 watts, which means the usable photon efficiency is 2.75 micromoles per watt. Thoroughly impressive numbers. I guess I'm going to have to run one more test. I'll raise the Growcraft ULTRA X3 Prototype 1 back up to 60 centimeters. We should see the same type of pattern that we observed in the 4x4 tests. This time I think we'll get up to 500 micromoles everywhere. Well, close enough. I have it centered, level, and square. The hanging height is 60 centimeters above the sensor. And down in this corner, the ppfd is so close to 500, it's 499. I'll grab the maximum ppfd here in the center. I got it at 886 micromoles per square meter. Let's run this final test. I'm interested in a minimum of 500 micromoles per square meter because it's an inflection point on the photosynthetic yield, or PI curve. At a 500 micromole density, plants photosynthesize very efficiently. If you provide less than that, then you're losing an opportunity for growth. But additional increases above 500 are not as important as getting to 500 in the first place. So it may be worth it to raise the fixture when the corners are low, but as we saw, it depends on how much the trade-off costs. Since this area is a little smaller, and the average ppfd was a little higher, I think this test should give us a good result. Let's check out the par map from this raised test. And there you go. 500 micromoles per square meter everywhere. Well, except for that pesky corner at 499. This is a great even spread of excellent light. You could grow a lot of plant under the Growcraft ULTRA X3. Let's look back at the map from the lower hanging height. We'll see how the distribution of densities changed. Let's focus on these squares at each end. At this height, they are lower. When I raise the fixture, more light reaches the ends. If you remember, in the 4x4 test, the gains were at the top and bottom. At the lower height here, the middle section has really high ppfd values, And just like in the 4x4 tests, when we raise the fixture, those values all go down. Again, we will see that we lost more from the middle than we gained at the edges, but the improved distribution helps offset those losses. Let's run the numbers. In this test, I raised the fixture back up to 60 centimeters, about 23.5 inches, and we saw the maximum ppfd was 886 micromoles per square meter. Across this PAR map, the average ppfd is 679.2 micromoles per square meter. It's a 1.35 square meter test area, so the usable ppf is 916.9 micromoles. During this test, I measured the power draw at 346 watts, so the usable photon efficiency is 2.65 micromoles per watt. That is still incredible to me. Comparing the two tests, we can see that we lost some light when we raised the fixture. The usable ppf is about 30 points lower at the higher height, but that may be an acceptable trade-off for the improved distribution. In a 5x3 space, you can happily run the Growcraft ULTRA X3 anywhere from 20 inches up to about 24 inches, with minimum drop-off in performance. I have a few more thoughts about this incredible light. Let's take a quick look at the test report page. For every fixture that I test, we publish complete test reports. This video will be at the top, followed by all of the data from the PAR test and my written review. Here's the main data from the official test. Below that, you'll find the detailed PAR test data and the official PAR map. I loaded all the additional PAR maps further down the page. If you have a larger space, you can use this calculator to determine how many Growcraft ULTRA X3s you'd need for full coverage. And below that, you'll find my written review. The ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA X3 is a remarkable grow light. It's a beautiful fixture that is really well engineered. It's even better than I thought it would be. It's actually better than I thought it could be. It is an exceptionally efficient light, so much so that it barely gets hot. The ppfd data from the quantum sensor was impressive, but I was almost more impressed by the temperature data from the heat gun. The hottest temperature I measured on the LED bars was a lukewarm 35.5 degrees Celsius, 96 Fahrenheit. Running this light would dramatically reduce the need to run air conditioning or otherwise manage the heat. If you're thinking of ordering the ULTRA X3 or other chilled fixtures, remember our discount code, ChilLED Coco. Unfortunately, the price for the Growcraft ULTRA X3 will not be within the budget of many growers, but cost efficiency is not the selling point. This light is for those who want cutting-edge technology and the very best grow light at any cost. Although most growers won't be able to afford the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA, I think all growers should be encouraged by what this means for the future of horticultural lighting. Not long ago, fixtures that got a usable photon efficiency of 1.8 micromoles per watt were unaffordable, but the prices have come down dramatically. Hopefully soon we can all use lights that get a usable photon efficiency of 2.8 micromoles per watt and deliver perfect density light to all corners of the canopy. I have seen the future of horticultural lighting, and it is bright. Coco for Cannabis grow light testing is impartial. We always put the grower's interests first. Our goal is to provide reliable, science-based testing and reviews for home growers. We do not get paid for testing lights, but we do earn commissions when you make purchases using our codes. You can support our work simply by using our codes when you purchase a grow light. I'd like to thank Austin at ChilLED for reaching out and sending me the light to test. It has been a special treat to get to test and review the ChilLED Growcraft ULTRA Prototype 1. And thank you for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Check out my other PAR test reports and grow light physics videos. And I hope you come to visit us at cocoforcannabis.com. We publish articles, tutorials, and guides on the science and practice of growing cannabis. You can read our articles, chat with our community, browse the grow light test reports, and try your hand at the grow light calculator. Join us in the Coco for Cannabis Grow Challenges, and let's grow together. I'm Dr. MJ Coco, sending all of you grower love.